Now, is your
The
therapy
concept is
covered
similar,
by
but
the medical?
I'm sorry, what?
Is your therapy covered by medical? And the answer is no.
Extended medical, yes.
Extended medical, but not BC
Okay,
medical.
but it is covered by extended medical.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and then before I leave, I want to know how to get a hold of this doctor, because my husband has had what I thought was a stroke. I saw it happen. And ever since that, it hasn't shown up in any of MRI or CT scan, so the doctors don't really believe that he had a stroke, and yet it left him with tingling in the legs, and he couldn't walk for a while. He needed a walker and a cane always, and so on. And but the thing about him is that he's always exhausted. He sleeps too much. He's always tired, and he can't seem to function normally in that way. And yet in every other way, he's normal. It's just that he can't seem to stop this tiredness, and nothing seems to show up as far as his physical health seems to be okay, as far as the doctor can determine. And I just wondered if that's something that he could help, or that he could see maybe that there's been some kind of damage here.
We see a lot of these kinds of conditions. Very often the scans that they do, the MRIs and so forth, do not pick up the injury that's caused by brain insult. Classic example is a hospital EEG will only pick up about 25% of individuals who have identifiable frank epilepsy. Now, I'm just guessing off the top of my head. I think what probably happened here is you had a minor, what's called a ischemic event, which is like a stroke. And that it affected slow frequency activity in the brain, so that your husband's sleep is not efficient and he's oversleeping, which is increasing slow frequency and affecting a number of other features, namely fatigue. And he probably has some kind of injury in an area that's affecting his body balance and body integrity. When we do a brain assessment, we can get a pretty good idea of what it is that we're dealing with here.
Well, I just don't want to give up on this, because I feel, that we want to try everything to try to see if he can still function in a much better way than he is now. I don't want to regret that we didn't try something that sounds really good by what I'm hearing. And so what I need to know is how we can make contact with you and bring him in.
Okay.
604.
Pardon?
His phone number is 604
604
608
608
0444. It should be up on the screen.
0444. And
that's right.
That's his office?
That's the office phone number. They're down in Melville. It's 1170 Melville in downtown Vancouver. And I'm going to explain that you are here. Dr. Swingle used to be a lecturer at Harvard University. He was a head of child psychology lecturing professor, head of the whole department at the University of Ottawa for 17 years. And you did the Harvard at the same time, did you not? Flying back and forth with a house in both cities?
For 10 years.
For 10 years, he flew back and forth between Boston to Ottawa, looking after two universities at the same time.
Well, we had a few other people there too.
Well, I understand that, but you were the guy, you discovered sound health, am I correct on that?
Yes.
Most of the stuff, and Paul was just inducted into the Brain Hall of Fame, whatever the heck that is. Some fancy organization but you're what, the 13th or 14th person inducted into it?
I was the inaugural person.
Oh, you're the inaugural, you're number one.
Well, I'm one of 6 guys who, and ladies and gentlemen who were elected to the Hall of Fame.
6 members and you're number one.
I'm one of the inaugural people.
One of the inaugural people. So he's recognized around North America. He's written 2 or 3 books on the subject. His latest one is called Biofeedback for the Brain. And I recommend it to anybody who's got a friend, a neighbor, your son, daughter, husband, mother, father, because you can look after, you help people with senile dementia too, do you not?
That's correct, yeah.
And I can testify, but I won't because I don't want to identify. I can testify to a severely brain damaged person that Paul has been helping, who was supposed to be a living vegetable that is not anymore. No, Mitchell's pointing at me. I'm not the severely brain damaged person. But does that help you, ma'am?
Yes, it does.
Okay, now you know there's a public lecture tomorrow night, do you?
I don't. No.
Okay. Sorry we didn't get that up. I think you got a slide for that. The lecture is tomorrow night. That's Thursday night, March the 4th, at the Vancouver Public Library. Are you in Vancouver?
No, I'm out in Surrey.
Well, that's not that. You can get there with SkyTrain beautifully. It's the
Yeah.
SkyTrain stops right across the street almost.
Well, my only problem here is my husband just had shingles, and so he's, this hasn't helped any of his problems.
Well, I understand that.
So I don't think he's quite up to making a trip
Well,
like that.
if you can't bring him, then you should come yourself.
Yeah.
Get a friend and somebody and come down and get somebody to stay with your husband if he needs it. But I'm serious. The public lectures are very good. You see people that are there that have been patients and people that may be, and it's well organized. And the Vancouver Public Library is a sponsor.
Okay.
I mean, this is not. Did you happen to be watching the program when Stephanie Strathdy was on?
No, it was actually my daughter, whose son also has Asperger's. And
Okay.
it sounds very similar to what this other lady was talking about.
Okay, you heard.
She's the one that told me to listen tonight on the
Oh,
computer. So this is really all I know.
okay, because Stephanie Strathdy was just on. She's a research scientist in epidemiology.
Yes, I heard her. Yeah.
Okay, and her husband is a professor of psychology.
Yes.
And
that's
if you
right.
think anybody was skeptical about this, they were when I first told them that you get your son in to see Paul.
Yes, I know. That was amazing.
Okay, and I can.
Very hopeful. Very
Okay.
wonderful. I'm really encouraged to hear this.
Okay, well I can. There's other people. We had way back when this is 10 years ago when I had a daily television show in Vancouver. We had a lady with a son that was on Asperger's, and I can still. Her name was Karen, and she identified herself and so on. But I don't want to bother with that right now. It's 10 years ago, but I can still remember. Remember Karen talking about her son and how he could tie his shoelaces now and all these things, and he was participating in basketball at school. The awe in her voice. I mean, I'm getting. I get really emotional about what you do, which is really nuts. Karen worked for the tax office. She was the enemy. But you see, you help out your best friend, your worst enemy, your next door neighbor, your son, your daughter, your guy at work, because this works. I mean, when I first met Paul, it was he and his daughter Mari, and now what have you got, 14 people down there or something?
Staff of 14, right?
Staff of 14, and they're helping people. And if there's one thing that the BC Medical should do is BC Medical should cover this.
They should.
Because BC Medical and Pharmacare will cover the cost of drugs, and they'll cover this, and they'll cover a $100,000 car accident and so on. But this cures a kid.
Yeah.
This fixes them. No, it makes them okay, makes them whole again, makes them part of society. Thanks for calling, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye. Say hello to me at the lecture tomorrow night.
Thank you.
If
Bye-bye.
anybody else is out there, we can take one call at a time. The number is area code 866-980-0499. If you're calling from someplace else in North America, if you're calling from around Vancouver, give us a call at 604-980-0321. 604-980-0321.